Hello. Okay, so trauma, physical injury, abuse, addiction, loss, other, or all of the above. I didn't add that yet, but apparently I need to. As I'm writing all that, I'm thinking, I need all of the above because I fit into that category myself. So, physical injury. This can come in so many different shapes, sizes, um, so many different ways that we can be injured. A lot of times it is by our own hand, it's by our own, not being connected, being out of body, which is a lot my case. Just keep pushing and keep going and not heeding the warnings, not obeying, just doing haphazard, carefree. But sometimes that's not always the best way. Like, there are things we can do that are fun and exhilarating and exciting, and there's a chance for personal injury, sure. But there are some things that maybe we know better and we shouldn't do, but we do them anyways. So these are the things we need to heal from, right? Because we know in our mind there's a trigger there, because we say, oh, I know I shouldn't have gotten that car. Oh, I know I shouldn't have gone with those people. Oh, I shouldn't have had that other drink. Just on and on and on of things, right? Like, there's so many things and we know we shouldn't have done them, but we did them anyways. Now we just need to understand why we did and not do them again, because we know better. And when we know better, we need to do better. That's also in the contract at the end. So you know better, you have to do better. It just works that way. Abuse. Trauma in the form of abuse. So a lot of times, not that we've allowed that to happen. On some level it happens because of that, but we need to allow the space that lets us gain the confidence, to gain our power back, to stop the abuses. Of course, if you're a child, or sometimes in relationships, there's different kinds of abuses, and we don't need to get into all of them. We all know what they are. But sometimes we don't know how to get ourselves away from feeling like we deserve it, or we're not worthy for any other behavior, or we don't know what to do if, what's going to happen if we try to initiate something so it stops. And that's fear, right? So working our way through our fears will help us with our abuses. Also, that probably goes both ways. Being an abuser, they abuse for reasons of their own, and whatever those are, they need to forgive themselves for that, but we need to forgive them also. Ultimately, it comes down to the unconditional love and the capacity to forgive. And when we have those for ourselves, and we forgive ourselves for the things that we think are the most heinous things we've ever done, and how could we ever be lovable because we did those things, we can forgive ourselves for those. Because as those people that are doing the things that they shouldn't be doing, sometimes they really don't know what they're doing. And when they do, they will do better. And if they don't do better, that is definitely on them. It's not on you. But it is definitely up to us to stand up for ourselves and to find our own voice and our own courage. And when we align and we bring in that brain-heart coherence, our voice can be strong. When we bring in that brain-heart coherence with a strong voice, our power center can be ignited and fueled. So this is what we want, right? We want to be able to be stand for something, but sit respectfully. So ultimately, we know better, we do better. When we have the opportunity, we improve. Addictions. So addictions can be anything that's out of balance. Absolutely anything. I know it sounds maybe a little bit weird, a little bit contrite, a little bit, I'm not giving enough power to the addiction. But addictions run from everything from your crown chakra to your root chakra. Everything in between. You know, even obsessing too much, unless you have a compulsive disorder, which sometimes could be the balance of that, maybe has something to do with something else. But things like, you know, obviously there's the regular ones, drinking too much, smoking, drugs, pornography, shopping, I don't know, you know, there's a lot of them. So those are like the ones that get the label. But there are other things too, you know? Well, of course, food too. A lot of people are addicted to food, but it's not the food they're addicted to, it's the comfort that comes with it. Yeah, some people are addicted to misery. Some people are addicted to the feelings of that sadness, of depression, of it just becomes comfortable because it's easier and you know that feeling, you know what you're going to get from it, than to deal with it because that's unknown and it's difficult. It's difficult to navigate. You know, this is why we have groups and friends and programs and things, right? So that we can ask questions and we can figure out how to navigate things. But the key, of course, is having the awareness. And a lot of times, especially if the addiction is protecting us, even though that sounds, you know, doesn't really sound right, but it does in a way. Addictions protect us from the uncomfortable, hurtful things that we don't want to deal with, don't want to feel. Yeah, right? Yeah. Loss. So we're here because of trauma due to loss. And of course, we already talked about this a few episodes ago about loss and how it comes on so many different levels and so many different ways of manifesting. You know, there's of course the loss of life, and that's very difficult when you're not prepared, especially. I have a different view about the passing of people, you know, and that probably affects the way I see and facilitate this particular thing. So, Into the Grief Garden, if you want to know more about the way I go around with help dealing with loss, especially for myself. You know, there's loss of body parts, there's loss of relationships, there's loss of life, there's loss of dreams, there's loss of lifestyle. There's so many things, and all of them deserve their own grief. All of them need to be mourned. All of them need to be honored for what they were. And when, you know, in our due time, everything has, of course, its own relevance, its own weight. You know, if somebody lived a pristine, perfect life and then suddenly they were struck with a disease and, you know, maybe it took their leg, and how can this happen, right? Like, this is how, it's kind of the number one thing. Why me? How did this happen to me? So we deal a little bit of those things Into the Grief Garden in that program. So if you want to know more about that, I would be happy to share. So yeah, wanting to stop the cycles of being in any kind of thing that's keeping us below where we feel right. There's that line between happy and sad. There's that line between anger and forgiveness, right? So we want to try and mount ourselves a little bit towards the positive, and of course just knowing how to be in the middle and understanding both sides really helps a lot. Yeah, I guess that's probably about it. Yeah, it's a heavy subject, and there's many facets to it, and many threads, many different ways to alleviate ourselves and not rid ourselves of it, but just to glean the gold, take the good stuff, and just let the stuff be a lesson. And where we go from there, hopefully we're improving and we're striving to use those hard lessons that we had before as a stepping stone. So if something like that comes around again, we are better able, we're response able, because we've already gone through it and we've unpacked it, and it's not weighing us down, it's lifting us up. So with that, I will see you tomorrow. I cannot remember the topic for tomorrow. Same trail marker, but I don't remember the question. So anyways, until then, be well.